Come on. Oh yeah, baby. Woo. Yeah. Let's freaking go, baby. All right, here's the deal, guys. If you look out in front of me, there is nothing but trees and standing timber. And you may think, you know what, that bass you just caught there was pretty random, but I'm gonna let you know that it was not random. There are a lot of situations that we face as fishermen where we're dealing with a tremendous amount of cover. It could be a ton of trees. It could be a ton of docks. It could be a ton of grass. And if you focus on these three things that I'm about to tell you, it can really help you to eliminate water and catch more bass. So stay tuned, it's gonna be a good one. This video is brought to you by the Deep Dive app. If you don't know what the Deep Dive app is, you can download it on your phone and it helps you to find and locate bass a lot quicker. Once you get to the lake that you're fishing, you can select that lake, it's gonna pull in the current conditions, and then you can put in things like water temperature, water clarity, whether you're fishing around grass or not, or fishing in the wind or not, and that app is going to spit out some strategies and lures that can help you to catch bass. There's a paid version and a free version, and if you're interested in downloading it, click that link down below in the description. Now, the first thing that you want to do when you have just a ton of cover is use your electronics to eliminate a lot of that cover. Now, if you do not have electronics, I'm gonna show you some things that you can do. But first of all, if you do have some decent electronics, the biggest thing that you can do is simply idle through that area. And basically what you have to do is act like that cover that you are seeing is not there. What you are simply looking for is different structure elements on the bottom. And what I mean by structure elements are contour lines. I'm looking for drop-offs. I'm looking for hump. I'm looking for points. Anything that is a little bit different, that is what I'm going to target. For example, if you look at this giant section of trees, most of it is in about 10 to 12 foot of water. But if there happened to be a hump right in the middle that was only 5 foot of water, that is something that I would normally target whether the trees were there or not. Now, because the trees are there, they just add to that piece of structure. So now that tree becomes where that bass is located on the structure. This is something that is so important into eliminating a ton of water. Now, it could be a hump, it could be a point, it could be a drop off. If you're fishing a giant grass flat and the whole thing is 15 foot deep, but all of a sudden it jumps up to 6 foot deep, right where that break is where that bass is going to be as well. So the biggest thing that you can do if you have nice electronics is idle around it. Try to see if there are different structure elements among that cover. Now, probably the most important thing when it comes to fishing areas that have just a ton of cover in them is really kind of stepping back from a 30,000 foot view and looking at the things that are a little bit different. For instance, if you can see here, there's a ton of standing timber. But right here that I'm pointing to, there's kind of like a mega tree here, you know, and there's actually a few of these throughout this standing timber area, but you have a lot of little sticks all over the place. But right there is kind of a bigger tree. It's just something that is different. And that is the place a lot of times where you're going to find a bass. Another really specific example that I'm seeing if I'm looking out on this cover here is that we have a lot of vertical cover in this standing timber, tons of vertical cover. But if you look just right over here, there's actually a horizontal tree, a tree that has fallen down and is laying horizontally. Now that alone is something different, right? All these trees are vertical and you have one horizontal tree. Being different, that can hold a bass. The other thing that you have to think about is bass also lay horizontal in the water column. So simply something different is a lot of times what's going to hold bass. Now, obviously I'm talking about standing timber here, but you can apply this no matter what type of cover you're fishing. For example, I have fished areas before where I'm fishing a huge grass field. Maybe it's a lily pad field. Sometimes in that lily pad field, you'll have little openings in the lily pads, or you will have a different type of vegetation that mixes in. For instance, it could be like a mat. You know, if you look at this fish catch right here,
Nice. Nice one too. Very nice.
Thank you, Jesus.
Very nice.
In this huge lily pad field, there was one little mat, and I tossed my little swim bait out there and caught a fish. Something different. If you're fishing a lake that has a ton of docks on it, you know, something that I like to do is simply look down a line of docks and try to see which dock is sticking out further. Sometimes that one that is sticking out more than the other ones, it's different. It's gonna hold that bass. Or if it is closer to the bank. Sometimes the ones that are closer to the bank than the rest of them are the ones that hold the fish. So that's a really important tip. It's kind of a broad tip, but anything that is just simply different can really hold a lot of fish. Now, the third thing that you can do is concentrate on PEP. That's what I call it, P-E-P, PEP. That stands for points, edges, and pockets. Pretty much any type of cover that you fish, grass, trees, bushes, docks. If you have a point, an edge, or a pocket, those are all great places to find a bass. For example, if you look just ahead of me here, it's one of the best points in all these trees right here. It's a very defined little point in the trees. This is a great area and a high percentage area for a bass to be. Now, if I was going down a grass line and all of a sudden there was a little depression, a little pocket, that is another prime area for a bass to be. And sometimes simply being on the edge makes a huge difference. I was actually helping a friend a couple of years ago prepare for a tournament, and I was fishing with him on Lake Gunnersville. And he was all up on this grass flat, and we were throwing rattle traps and crankbaits and all kinds of moving baits on this grass flat. And I'm like, dude, we need to find an edge here. So I actually got on his trolling motor. I actually kept idling out to deeper water, and then we hit a solid edge where that grass completely stopped. We started pitching soft plastics out there and immediately started catching fish. So simply being on the edge and not in all the cover can really help you to eliminate water and start catching fish. Now, another thing that can help you to catch a lot more fish is by focusing on the extremes when it comes to bass fishing. And I made a full video right here that talks all about that, on focusing on the extremes. It is more of a bass theory video, but I think it's one of the best ones that I've made that can really help you to catch a lot more bass and be different in a crowd. So if you guys enjoyed this video, comment below, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next video.